Hey, thank you so much for tuning in yet again. In today's episode, I'm going to speak about the issue of brokers. I know I've done something before with this. I just want to touch on it again because it keeps coming up. What is a broker? Should I work with brokers? And I'll be sharing my thoughts on that. You're watching Online in Kenya, and I am Solomon Wangwe. So brokers are technically a third party whose primary objective is to, in a sense, put two parties together. Usually it's a seller and a buyer. In some cases, it's a property owner and someone who wants to rent the property. Very common in urban areas. Many of us, including myself, have used brokers to find us properties we want to use for one reason or the other. I'm very conflicted about the issue of brokers, to be honest. As a general rule of thumb, I do not like to work with brokers, and by that I mean unlicensed brokers. An unlicensed broker pretty much makes up the majority of the brokers in Kenya, in my experience. Maybe you have a different view. But most brokers I know are simply a guy or a person, could be a lady as well, who simply wants to put two parties together. In the worst of cases, I have seen gardeners and house helps present themselves as brokers simply because they know that their boss wants to sell. If you're interested in buying, I can put you guys together and I want a commission, and that number ranges anywhere from 3 to 10%. I mean, it's ridiculous. I say that because there is a separate group of brokers. These are licensed agents or brokers who are governed by a set of laws and professional policies which ensure that they handle the market appropriately to protect the consumer as well as their clients. So companies, very well-known companies like Palm Golding, Knight Frank, these are generally listing agents you see with signage all over Nairobi, properties to let or to sell. These have been engaged by the property owners to sell or lease their properties on their behalf. They usually have an agreement in place between the two of them to manage that transaction, stipulating what each party should expect from the conclusion of the transaction. And there are many others. You can find a list of those, I am sure, if you look in the right places. But for the most part, by and large, most brokers, when a Kenyan typically uses the word broker, they're referring to some guy they know who says, "Nitakuzia chaba, naweza kukutafutia mteja," and that kind of thing. I don't like to deal with those for many reasons, and the most important of which is that there is no legal recourse should they misguide you. We've heard of stories before, people getting conned. They've been introduced to someone as a property seller by some broker. They paid the guy. Turns out the guy didn't actually own the land. The broker got a commission and went his way, disappeared, and you're left hanging. This happens all the time. I have close friends and family who have this story. I'm sure pretty much every Kenyan does. I've said it before, 60% of Goshen Acquisitions customers have been conned before. And the broker, unlicensed broker or informal broker community plays a big role in this mess. So that's my 2 cents about it. If you're going to work with a broker, ensure that they are licensed. In some cases, you can't help it. The property owner has appointed their cousin, their watchman, their neighbor to find them buyers or renters. There's nothing you can do about that. Just establish beforehand what you're willing to do or not. For example, I never negotiate on prices with brokers. Especially when they're not licensed brokers. They are free to introduce me to the property owner, and that's as far as their engagement with me goes. As far as commissions are concerned, I never pay them as a buyer. that is a responsibility squarely on the seller who hired them. So if you're going to insist on working with a broker, because they can be good sources of leads sometimes, manage your interaction with them very clearly, and if possible, have it in writing and witnessed by a legal practitioner, someone who is a certified notary, and you're safe. That's my 2 cents. If you have any comments to make about that, or maybe you want to share some of your experiences, please feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to hear from you. You can reach us through our social media platforms. You can even give us a call at 07 0001 0001. Again, that's 07 0001 0001. You're watching On Land in Kenya. I'm Solomon Wangwe. Stay tuned for more info on strategic land investment.